Hello and welcome to the first ever virtual climate change festival in the Heatons. My name is Maggie Jones and I'm the Secretary of Love Heaton Norris. We link into many other groups like Sustainable Living in the Heatons, who's running this. We're a community group working in Heaton Norris to support the locals, mainly in green enterprises. Also, we're the ones who are posting the wonderful new Heaton's Post newspaper each month into the Heaton Norris letterboxes. Our aim is to make the area a place to be proud of and better to live, work and play in. Now, this is a food waste session, so why is it important in the fight against climate change? This session will have two elements. First, what's happening in the big scale to reduce waste foods, using supermarkets and producers to work out with organisations like Fair Share to redistribute food to those who need it. Secondly, what we can do as individuals and families to reduce waste in our homes. Next slide, please. Just so you know, only speakers and panelists have the ability to use the microphone. So if you have any questions, there is a button if you hover at the bottom of the screen, the Q&A button. Ask questions at any point and we'll try to get to them either later or in the coming days. There'll be a poll, so please participate in that. But also you can put chat and comments, not questions, but chat and comments, please, at the bottom of the screen. There's another button. After the webinar, these recordings will be updated onto the YouTube on Sustainable Living in the Heatons. Next, please. Why are we doing this? Sustainable Living in the Heatons has been in existence for 10 years. There is frustration amongst the members that sustainability seems now to be a slogan, but without real meaning. Climate change is becoming more significant. David Attenborough, Greta Thunberg, green groups are all having an impact in different ways, but we still think that change is happening too slowly. This can be exasperating for individuals and can make us wonder whether there is any point in trying to make changes to make things better. However, we all recognise that change is difficult for us all, yet change is very necessary. Next, please. We still need to carry on. We can either despair in the pace of change or do our best in our personal lives and as businesses and communities to influence and make change happen. This festival is to help you answer the questions, what more can I do? And then to offer answers for what we can do differently as consumers and responsible citizens. We believe that small steps at a local level are important. We can make a difference. Next, please. Did you know that 50% of food waste is in our homes? Hannah Warren, producer of a climate change podcast and panelist to our first ever event, gave 3 top tips, and one of them was try and reduce food waste. UK households waste 4.5 million tonnes each year. Did you know potatoes are the most wasted? Who'd have thought? We use land larger than the whole of China to grow food that is never eaten. To grow this, 25% of our community's water is wasted on it. Food waste is responsible for 6% of greenhouse gas emissions. Aviation is only 4%. Who'd have thought? So this rotting food pumps out that harmful gas, decomposing in landfill. This heats up the planet. So I'm going to eat them wonky carrots. Next, please. Right, now this is where you can come in. We've been thinking about foods that we find to go to waste more often in our kitchens. What about you, audience? What do you find yourself throwing out? So we'd like you to pick one or more of the points below, 1 to 7, and decide which ones you feel you throw out most. The meals that you've got left over in the fridge and never get round to, salad stuff, fruit, Vegetables, I'm often finding the old pepper sitting in the corner. Cheese and dairy produce. Milk, or are you excellent and throw nothing out? Get your finger on the button now, please. Drum roll, drum roll.
People still thinking about it. Couple more seconds. And we're going to end the poll now.
Right, the poll is ending. Wow. Oh, I'm so impressed, people of the Heatons. A load of nothings there. That's really impressive. And then some salad stuff and vegetables. And then fruit and leftover meals. Good old milk and cheese are saved. Well done. Thank you very much indeed. That's really good. Next slide, please. Right, without further ado, I need to introduce you to the six people in our panel. As you see, we've got an amazing selection there. So let's start with Josh Gaskell. He's the church warden at All Saints Church in Heaton, Norris. In this video, he will be talking about his life with the church and his parishioners involving food in the community. Video, please.
My name's Joshua Gaskell. I'm one of the volunteers here at Christ All Saints in Heaton, Norris, and I'm the church warden and also captain of All Saints Church Lads and Church Girls Brigade. We're a very inclusive church. We try to do as much as we can to involve the community, regardless of your religion or faith or background or sexuality, colour, skin, size, anything really. Everyone's welcome. We are Church of England, so pretty much doors are open and you'll always be welcome to come in. Heaton Norris, I think, is very, very distinct compared to the other three Heatons. We're a very tight, close-knit community, obviously having more of a focus on terrace streets. Everyone knows their own neighbour. It's brilliant, especially over the lockdown. It's really come into fruition. People have been knocking on each other's doors, you know, is everything okay? Can I get you some extra milk or anything like that? It's a really strong community that hopefully that is infectious and it will spread throughout the Heatons. Okay, so we distribute food. We started it a few years ago. Once we made, as you can see, and stood here in the church community allotment. It's grown by kids from the Church Lads and Church Girls Brigade, so we teach them from a very young age how to sow the plants, how to sow the seeds, nurture them, so they know it doesn't just come from Asda's. They understand the work and the effort that goes into growing food. Then with any of the surplus, we either give it to the kids that then take home. What isn't given back to the kids' families, we then used to give out to the community itself, and we still have been. It's been a fantastic year. You can't see it here, but this is a massive potato crop behind you there. We had a massive run of beans, still got some beetroot on the way, and the greenhouse is still keeping fairly happy for now. That's what we normally do, but this year, on top of that, we've had the blessing of lots of other different either charities or supermarkets, both Green Lane allotment in Heaton Moor, big thank you to you guys, and also White Hill allotment just across the railway there. Really kind, some smashing bits of produce, all fresh, all local, all organic. We've had the supermarket influence, which has supplied people with, say, the tin goods, the dried goods, which in reality, you know, you can't just live off a courgette and a few spuds, as nutritious as they are. If you're struggling, you need your basics like your pastas, your rice, your tin meats and stuff. It's been absolutely overwhelming, the amount of donations we've had in. We've even had people that have come off the street that said, oh, I like your fresh produce, but I've got loads of tins at home that I need to get rid of. So they've come with shopping bags of like biscuits and beans, tuna fish, corned beef, and say, oh please can I put them out as a donation. Very difficult if you're a run-of-the-mill family to go through the process and you're in emergency to get food vouchers. It's not an easy, it's quite a drawn-out process to go through for some families. So what we've decided to do is, do you know what, we're not going to ask any questions. We're going to trust that, you know, you're in a bad place. We put the food out on the street, on a table, and we literally just say, come and help yourself. And also what's been really nice to see is people taking things for their neighbours as well and helping each other. It's been brilliant. People need feeding, people need love, people need care. So was this a response to coronavirus? No, initially no. We've been doing this for a good few years now on a low level. Like I said, it's part of an ongoing project with the kids from the Church Lads and Church Girls Brigade. So we've always had the allotment and we've always grown food to give away to the community, but really it's completely ramped up. Normally it would just be our own food, but on account of this coronavirus travesty, we've had people contact us and almost practically throw the food at us, which has been absolutely amazing, gobsmacking and quite touching really. I think it's brought a lot of people together. This community in particular, everyone has pulled together. You don't take your neighbours for granted anymore. It's been a fantastic atmosphere and show what's really beautiful about humanity. And above all, I think it's taught us how to stop and take stock, especially when the lockdown first happened, when nothing was going on, no pubs, queuing up for shops, couldn't go and see anyone. Yes, it was awful, but a lot of families that I know of have actually taken that time to focus. Do you know what? Stop being so busy about work. Stop going out and see your mates. What's important? It's your family here who you're living with and those that are most dear. Given the fact that the majority of the hard lockdown is now over, not only a lot of people out in the community going back to work, so perhaps the need isn't there as much, which we have been told by local members of the community. Also a lot of our volunteers are having to go back to work as well. We're going to continue for as long as we can. We've really enjoyed it. It's been a smashing 6 months. So any plans for the future? Yes, God willing, when the kids come back, and hopefully they will do soon. Now they've gone back to school, we should be able to get things back up and running again. They'll continue to help to clear this, hopefully get their hands dirty and spread the manure on top of the beds and get growing ready for next year. Aside from the actual growing and the distributing of the allotment food, we also do a free hot pot supper from donated food once a month in the church hall on a Saturday evening, and that's normally the third Saturday of the month. But check out our website on christallsaints.org.uk, or check out our Facebook as well for any updates on that one. That can hopefully come back together again. We also do a free community Sunday dinner, again from donated food after the main service on a Sunday. Main service is 11:30, and absolutely everyone from pauper to king is welcome.
Thanks ever so much, Josh. That was lovely. Fantastic lineup of food there. What a selection, and what generous various sources you've gotten from. Can't believe how kind people are. So that was really good. But we've also got our next presenter is Nadia Ali, and she is a leader in Heaton's Norris Community Centre, supporting many groups with activities, but especially food distribution at this COVID time. So please play the video.
Nadia Ali. I'm a youth and community worker for the past 25 years approximately, working across Greater Manchester, and my role is to look at what needs are needed in the area for local residents, for the adults, for the children, for the elderly. So it's looking at a holistic way of addressing people's mental health. Heaton Norris is it's a beautiful area to work in. There are amazing people who live and work in this area. It is an area what they call priority 1 area in Stockport, which means it does have quite high deprivation in the area. So it's got high unemployment rates, you know, etc. And so our role is to just make sure that we are signposting people to positive activities and looking at setting up, sustaining and maintaining and developing resources for them. It also seems to be an area where we have a lot of influx of asylum seekers and refugees coming into the area, so we have to address their needs as well. And it's a very vibrant place to live and work in. So we do have contributions from families who come and give us food that they might have spare items in their cupboard that they don't want to get rid of, so they give that to us. We make sure we would use that within our groups that we work with on a weekly basis. So with Asda, when they give us the food and then we put on an event providing that food, there does tend to be leftover food. We will make sure that all that food goes to the families. We never leave it in the community centre, you know, so we always make sure we will share with those families who we know who have they need it, they desperately need it, and we just know that we don't need to ask them. We know from the relationships that we've built with those families who are the most vulnerable and the most needy when it comes to food parcels. So the bread came from Stockport local authority. So due to the pandemic, there was a lot of people that we needed to reach out to who could not come out of their homes for various reasons. So there was an offer made of bread contribution. So we managed to access that bread, pick the bread up and be able to share with people in the area through telephone conversations, through our social media platform, asking if anybody would like this bread. And there was always never enough bread to give out. It was gone within hours of receiving the bread. So one of the changes that we made was that we had to adapt our service. So most of our services have been within this building. We provide different groups according to the needs of the local people. Obviously, due to the pandemic, we had to close our doors. And so what we needed to do then was to keep up the engagement. We felt it was really important to still keep in touch with people. So we needed to turn to technology to do that. And that was by using our telephones a lot more, picking up the phone and speaking to people, using Zoom and Teams so that we're still connecting with our colleagues. And then we went out and did some detached work. I think what's good from a community centre point of view is that we've realised that not everything can be achieved by delivering in-house services. We need to go outdoors more, we need to be present more outdoors, there does need to be more outreach, there does need to be more detached provision, and it's amazing how much you can do by providing an outdoor facility. So we're still providing sports programs, we're still providing raising awareness around hate crime issues in the area by just being in outdoor spaces. So we started a new piece of work, and we have been speaking to the children and young people about the space that the communal space that they have and what would they like to do with it. And the young people's responses have been that they would like to learn how to grow their own vegetables, their own herbs, their own spices and fruits if possible. It's something they think that it would help make the area look cleaner. It would help give them more ownership of the area and more responsibility in maintaining the area, making sure that it's clean. The best part is knowing that it's a great community. There is a big community here. People do feel part of a community, and I think that's really nice to have that in this area. And this is almost like the hub where people come to if they need to find out information, or if they need help, they know that this is a place to come. Because Bernard, the community centre manager, has lived in the area for 65 years. He's very well known. He's, you know, renowned for his community work that he does. So everyone knows if nobody has the answer, Bernard will have the answer. So for the distribution of food, we do have plans for the future. We have managed to resource some provisions to be able to open up a social cafe every Friday, 10 till 2. The social cafe is about addressing people's mental health. One of the other plans that we have is what we've seen an amazing project take place over the pandemic, run by an organisation called the Cherry Tree Project. They were putting online videos up in their own kitchen of them cooking a meal. But before that, they would buy all the ingredients for the meal, and I know a local supermarket was helping them with that, and they were bagging all the ingredients, they were giving them out to families, and then I think it was every Friday at 4 o'clock they would have a live video, and all the families will join in and cook together on this live video. We would like to learn from what the Cherry Tree Project has done and be able to work with them in the future to be able to provide some of that provision over here in Heaton, Norris and Lancashire Hill.
That was really good, Nadia. It made me feel all community spirited. And I love the cherry tree idea of doing like a ready, steady cook with all the families in different places. Very virtual, very good. Thank you very much both. The brilliant videos of our local volunteers and workers. Now we're very fortunate to have Lucy, Helena and Sam with us today and to give us their different perspectives on food waste. First, may I introduce Lucy Danger, which is a great name, the CEO of Emerge, to talk about the work of Emerge, also an umbrella company, including FareShare, bringing us a presentation and a few slides. Next screen, please.
Hi there. Shall I start? I'm Lucy Danger. Thanks for the introduction, Maggie. Delighted to have the opportunity to be with you and talk today. So yeah, I'm going to principally talk about FareShare, Greater Manchester, but just very briefly in terms of Emerge, we've now got two organisations. We're a social enterprise running waste recycling initiatives, Emerge Recycling, which you may have heard of. And we do food waste as part of our offering to businesses. And then we have a charity which is called Emerge 3Rs, the real 3Rs of reduce, reuse, recycle. And as we've said, one of the things we do is we run FareShare Greater Manchester in partnership with the national charity. And I'll tell you a bit more about that. Next slide, please. So how FareShare works, as you can see from the screen, we take surplus in-date food from the food industry. It's donated to FareShare UK, which is our national partner, and then it's redistributed out across the network. There are 22 depots and Greater Manchester is just one of them. We're based on Smithfield Market. We have a small staff team, paid staff, and then an army of volunteers. And we basically take the food, we put it onto a database system. We work with, it says 230, but actually it's more like 250 organisations now. And since COVID, we've been supporting nearly double the amount of people that we were doing pre-COVID. So it says 26,000 on the screen, but we've worked out that because so many groups have gone into overdrive and have not been doing, as Nadia talked about, not been doing the sort of smaller kind of cafe-based initiatives. Many more groups have been doing food parcels and supporting families taking food out and so on. And so we've nearly doubled the number to around 50,000 people. And in the last year, we provided about 1,500 equivalent meals, tons of food, and equated to over 3 million meals. And since COVID, we've done nearly the same amount in just in the last 6 months. So it's really ramped up. Next slide, please. So as you can see, yes, there's quite a lot of branded products there, but we take food direct from manufacturers. As you can see on the top right, pallets, it comes in mainly pallets to us. So we're loading off juggernauts, and I don't know if you can see, it looks like fish in that pallet. So we do the full range of ambient, which is the cereals and tins. We get donations through supermarkets, both from in-store that the public can donate at certain times of year, but mainly large pallets of food that come into us. We do a lot of chilled food, and we do some frozen food, and we also do a lot of fresh fruit and veg. So next slide, please. So we support a number of organisations, as I've said, about 250 now. You can see Reverend Ellie from Ancoats, who has a hostel for homeless people during the winter months. They've massively ramped up their activity since COVID, supporting families in the wider community. We support refugee projects, community centres, the full gamut you can imagine, including schools, breakfast clubs. Next slide, please. I think this is my original presentation, but that's okay, we'll just go with it. We've got a small depot on New Smithfield Market. We have around about 75 regular volunteers. During COVID, we lost about a third of those, but fortunately, thanks to the furlough scheme, people wanted to do something positive, so we gained a whole load of volunteers who were actually professional people. But we engage people who are unemployed. That's around 50% of the people that work with us. We have people who are retired, Mike, the driver there in the middle. We have people who, like Andrew below, who've got learning difficulties, and everybody mucks in together. It's a fantastic, almost like a family feel about the way we work, and they really knock it out every day. We actually work Monday to Saturday, getting that food out to people. So over COVID, we've been doing around 42 tonnes a week. Next slide, please. Again, pictures of the depot. You can see that we've had some support from a local, well, actually from a supermarket chain. We have 4 chiller vans and 2 big lorries, and we support groups right across the whole of Greater Manchester. But during COVID, we've also been working with groups in East Cheshire, and we do some groups in sort of out towards Derbyshire and the High Peak. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry. Just pop back if you can to the last one. Together we can 7 million meals. This is about our campaign. So we've currently got a capital fundraising appeal. We're moving out of the inadequate small depot that we've got, where the toilets are across the yard type of on Smithfield Market, and we're busy refurbishing a much bigger, better building which will provide fantastic facilities for staff and volunteers alike. Mean that we can, it'll work out approximately 3 to 4 times the amount of food that we distributed in the last year. So in terms of a call to action, I'm not going to talk about tips for reducing food because I think other people have done that, or there's a lot of stuff online as well. And I think we all really know what we should be doing on that one. Don't buy so much in the first place, and try not to buy so much packaged stuff as well. If you know of any groups like the two fantastic initiatives that have already spoken, Nadia's Social Cafe and Josh at the church, any other groups who might benefit from knowing about Fair Share, we're looking for particularly schools, for breakfast clubs and after school clubs. But if you know of individuals and families who need support, then point them in the direction of the groups, because Fair Share supports groups. If you know of any food producers locally, then please talk to them about us, and we'd love to engage with them and see if we can help them to not throw away surplus fit for human consumption food. We're really keen on engaging people, as I've said, and we need more volunteers, people to help in the office, people to help in the depot. The photos on the presentation, by the way, are all pre-COVID ones. We've adopted a whole stack of policies and procedures around COVID, being COVID safe. So I can reassure you that we're absolutely operating and maximising, the safety of our people. So there's still an opportunity to volunteer if that's something you'd like to explore. In which case, please get in touch. And actually, the person to contact, if you pop to the next slide, please, is not Miranda, because it's actually Liz Lauder. So it's the same email, emergemanchester.co.uk, and it's Liz at Emerge Manchester if anybody wants to volunteer, and it's 223 8200 and extension 110. Our website is fairsharegm.org.uk. Other things you can do very quickly, you can support our fundraising appeal, do something for World Food Day. And we're going to have a small campaign coming up shortly where you can buy a beautiful bamboo lunchbox and donate 3 to children in schools. Look out for that via our social media feeds and on our website. And great to speak to you. Thanks very much.
That was really good, Lucy. Thank you so much. I can't believe 250 organisations benefit from this, and 7 million meals. That's just kind of blown me away. Now, next slide, please. We now have a duo. We've got Helena Mellish and Sam Dugdale of Artie Sam, another great company name, a bespoke catering company. They have a few minutes and slides to share their experience of reducing food waste in catering and their own home. Introduce you, Sam and Helena.
Hi, I'm Helena.
I'm Sam.
Next slide, please.
So we're the owners of a local sustainable catering business, a new urban farm.
Next, please.
We're hoping some of the things we do professionally and at home can help us all avoid food waste.
Click, please. Halving UK food waste would save enough cropland to feed 28% of the UK population. So it's a really simple but important thing that we can all do to help. Next slide, please. A really simple way to help reduce food waste is by improving visibility. Just reminding yourself what you've got in helps you reduce waste, it stops you from overbuying, so it saves you money, saves you food, and gives you some good inspiration for dinner. So a few things we do include writing a dated inventory list on the fridge. It just needs 2 columns, one for the food item, one for the date it went in. Stick it on the fridge or nearby and use it. Take a photo on your phone of what you've got in and take that to the shops with you. Use clear storage containers, which is really simple but effective, as is stock rotation. So put new food at the back and move old food to the front. Keep your fridge at a cool 5 degrees. Just a few degrees cooler will help preserve food for longer, which should offset any energy consumption. Different foods require different storage methods, so use appropriate food storage. Lovefoodhatewaste.com have a really good A to Z of food storage. The freezer is your friend. So if you're not going to consume it in time, freeze it. Bananas are a great one. If they're browning and you're not going to use them in time, just peel them, stick them in the Ziploc and pop them in the freezer. And then you can pull them out when you're ready to make banana bread or muffins or smoothies or add them to pancakes. Measure your waste. Now, just by writing down what you've actually had to throw out, hopefully will incentivize you not to do it again. And finally, share what you have. So donate to charities and local food services like the fantastic ones mentioned today. And remember, you've also got neighbours. Next slide, please. Love your leftovers. Reuse them, reheat them, add them to stuff, turn them into something new. Whatever you do, love your leftovers and always use them. Best before dates are a guide. So use your common sense and have a sniff. Cook what you need and don't overserve, but don't worry if you do, because you're loving your leftovers. Try to make food with what you've got in before you buy new food.
So simple, basic long life ingredients like pasta, rice, lentils, tins of tomatoes are super useful to have in your cupboards to help you use up your leftovers and make it into a meal. Bread and potatoes are one of the most wasted items. There's loads you can do with stale bread, but nothing you can do with mouldy bread, so let it go stale and not mouldy. We'll put some recipes of what to do with that online. There are also good uses for potato peels like crisps, or just call your mash rustic and leave the skin on. It's much easier too.
Next slide, please.
So I want to give you a quick idea of what's going on when food spoils. The main culprit in food spoilage is bacteria. For them to thrive, they need 6 things: food acidity, time, temperature, oxygen, and moisture, or FACTOM. Controlling and limiting any or all of these will make your food last longer. So bacteria thrive and grow best at room temperature or the danger zone between 5 and 60 degrees C. So we want them there for as short a time as possible. So refrigerating and freezing, slow the rate and make it last longer. Getting them cold ASAP makes a huge difference. Heating will kill the bacteria, so cooking those sausages before they go off will give you a few extra days. Chutneys provide a bad place for bacteria to thrive due to their low moisture content and high acidity. Ferments remove the oxygen and encourage a plethora of good bacteria that keep bad bacteria at bay. But just doing a little to limit these really helps. So make sure your veggies dry before it goes in the fridge, or using bees wrap over your food will increase its shelf life.
So with that in mind, remember to use all your food. Chutneys, ferments, soups and stews are a great way to reset the clock. Always experiment. It's better to try something new than let food go to waste. Remember to always compost. It's really, really important. Ingredients apps are also really useful. This is where you pop in any leftover ingredients you've got and it comes up with a really tasty recipe for you. Lovefoodhatewaste.com have a really good one of those. And BBC Good Food also have some good ideas for using leftover food. Next slide, please. Finally, it's just really important to remember that you can follow others for ideas and inspiration. If you look online for it, you will find it, you can learn it and you can follow it. So following today's session, some recommended reading for you is lovefoodhatewaste.com and thefoodwastedoctor.com, both of which have social media sites, and they offer fantastic tips and tricks for preventing food waste and using up your leftover food. There's also the Food Revolution Network, and they've been involved with this film, The Need to Grow. Now, I've got an image of the film poster up. Now, this goes beyond food waste, but it's just an incredibly interesting and informative film that looks at the importance of our soil. So I really recommend that you all watch it. And finally, there's feedbackglobal.org. Now, Feedback are a fab organisation that wants to feed the planet as sustainably as possible. So they've got lots of really interesting reports on their website that I suggest you have a read of. And they've also got campaigns you can support. So one on the screen is that one of their most recent ones, and they're asking the government to insist that businesses report on food waste. So do go to their website and you can find out more information about that. And then finally, there's the Olio food app, which I recommend everyone get, and it's just a really nice food sharing app. So those are just some food for thought on ways you can help reduce your food waste. But if you have any questions following today's session, please feel free to get in touch with Sam and I at any time. We're happily chat food with you all day long. So thanks very much for listening.
Thanks.
Wow, that was amazing.
Thanks.
That's wow, I'm blown away. I actually, I need to see that again and again. So I'm glad it's going on the sustainable site, because I wouldn't be able to remember it all. But clear storage is a great hint, just tiny little thing. I defrosted rhubarb when it should have been chili once. So, and bananas, I do it on a face mask. If you mash it up dead, it's great for face masks.
Oh, that's a good idea. I could do some of that.
Avoid the lumps, you have to mash it. So thank you so much for all the presenters there. That was really good videos and slides and everything. Amazing. So we seem to have quite a few questions coming in from the audience, and we have you as a panel now to offer answers. So we encourage everybody to keep your answers short and to the point, and keeping in mind the focus is on the food waste. I'll hand over to Diana Scotcher, the Secretary of Sustainable Living in the Heatons, to direct the questions now. Thank you.
Hello, and thank you everybody for joining in. So we've had a wealth of questions been coming through to us. So I'm going to go back to some of the earlier ones that came in during the earlier presentation. So first of all, 2 questions from Val that came in during Nadia's film. Val wants to know, do you need more volunteers? And she also says, what about cooking skills? Do you need more volunteers who have cooking skills? I think she means by that.
Yes, hello. Yes, that would be fantastic. We always need volunteers to help us out with all the work that we have going on in the community centre and all the different activities. And with the new social cafe coming up, then we definitely need people with cooking skills. So they can get in touch with us and let us know. Okay,
thank you. So this is a question for Josh now that came from one of our SLH team, who wants to know, did you find that some foods that were donated were more popular than others?
Yeah, I think you can never go wrong with a tin of beans, really. Something as simple as that, and it's very versatile, and it's got a long shelf life. Pasta was also very, very, very popular. Yeah, so anything really that's sort of easy going day to day, but long shelf life.
Okay, and did you find that any things were sort of left over that you couldn't use up? Were you? Yeah,
again, and I think it sort of ties in a little bit what some of the other panelists have mentioned, that people seem to be afraid of vegetables or produce that don't look squeaky clean, that aren't past, that they're not the ideal shape, or perhaps they're a bit bruised. I think people need to get their head around that and say, no, produce that is grown isn't all going to look like a fantastic cartoon drawn vegetable. It's going to have bits of muck on it. It's going to be wonky.
Okay.
It's just as nutritious though.
Okay, so thank you very much for that. Okay, so this now is from Sarah, and I think this is really a picture for Sam and Helena. She says, I've just been to the fridge and I've got half a broccoli, some baby potatoes and 2 carrots. She thinks they might be on the turn. What to cook to make sure they all get used up today? Any suggestions on websites that give ideas for recipes? So I think you've covered some of that, but can you go back to it?
So lovefoodhatewaste.com have a really good recipe finder. So you just pop in the ingredients that you've got and it comes up with some recipe suggestions. There are other apps out there, but to be honest, I'd recommend lovefoodhatewaste.com. Do you have any ideas for off the top of your head? What could be?
Well, you could put that in anything from a stir fry to, it's quite nice weather, so something like a stir fry, and then you just need to get some noodles and a little sachet of sauce for it, and you're kind of halfway there.
Yeah, or if you don't fancy stir fry, check out lovefoodhatewaste.com.
Thank you. That sounds like a good place to go. Thank you. So this is another question that's coming from a member of our team, and this is for Lucy. And so first of all, I think the sort of uniformity that you do a fab job, a great job. So we would like to know, how much, do you happen to know, we've had lots of figures bandied around today, how much of supermarket food waste is still thrown away, despite what fair share, good to go and other ways that food is distributed?
muted.
Yeah.
There we go. One of the key figures to know is that there are 270,000 tonnes of fit for human consumption food that basically goes to probably anaerobic digestion, or maybe the pigs, but as we know, the legislation has tightened up around that. But actually that figure is the least of it, because that doesn't count in all of the farm surplus that gets ploughed back or graded out. So the real figure's a lot higher. It's in the millions of tonnes.
Oh, that comes home. That brings it all home, doesn't it? So Lucy, while we've still got you there, let me ask you another question. So on a week by week or day by day or a week by week or a month by month notice, do you get the same foods coming day over day again, or does it vary? Sort of how can you anticipate for sort of getting the flow through your warehouses?
Yeah, it's a really good question. It is really challenging for us and for the groups that we support, because you can't really come to us necessarily with a shopping list and be sure that you're going to get everything on that shopping list. So we do need people to be agile and prepared to ready, steady, cook. We do, as a fairly standard thing, get bread. Why there's always a surplus of bread, I don't know. I guess it's that supply and demand thing, but we get a mix of everything, but we just can't guarantee that we'll always have any one thing. So roughly 20%, 25% of the food we get in has got less than 3 days life on it. So we have to be really, really quick in turning it around and finding groups that can utilise that food and get it out the door. And the tips that Helena and Sam were talking about, being able to be creative with uses of food, or freeze stuff, cook it and freeze it, and so on.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Or serve meals up there and then, on the day, or get bags out to people that they're going to eat that food quickly.
So you're having to do lots of thinking fast. Organisations are having to really think quickly. What are we going to do here?
Yeah, and for us it's a logistics thing mainly, and then for the groups it's I suppose it's also to some extent logistics, getting it out to people. And I think the resources that have been mentioned, Love Food, Hate Waste in particular, I don't know about lots of other apps, but I guess there are ones out there. They're really important for the groups that we support to be able to use all the food and not bin it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you, Lucy. So this is a question here for Helena and Sam, and this is from Sheila, and she wants to know top tips on recipes to use up cabbage.
So Sam's going to set up, I love cabbage soups. I'd always say make cabbage soup, it's absolutely delicious, and in hot weather you could just have a gazpacho to have it cold, but Sam would say
fermenting it. So you take your cabbage, what's left over, chop it up with salt and a bit of boiled water. We'll pop a recipe for a simple ferment, and with a ferment you can add anything else. You've got carrot, other bits of veg, bits of salad, all thrown in and fermented for a few days. It'll last for ages then as well. Is a really great way, really good for you as well. So it'll build your immune system. Yeah, ferments are always the way forwards, I think.
So it takes a while for it to be a ferment, doesn't it, and ready to eat, but then once it is, it's got a super long shelf life, and you can just have it as a side to any dish you're having, really, whether it be lunch or dinner.
Yeah.
So ferments.
So I suspect that's quite a new thing for some of us, and we might have to do a little bit of research into that.
Yeah, I'll pop a recipe up. There's some on our Instagram already, but essentially it's just about using salt, vinegar and water to store the cabbage out of oxygen, or the veg without oxygen. There's some simple tricks to weigh it down and stuff once you've done it, and we'll put them up online. And they basically, because of the lack of oxygen, the bacteria don't breed, but it actually changes the nutritional value and adds an awful lot to your food as well. So it's a great way forwards.
And it's something you can just do in a jar.
Yeah.
So who will try that? That's interesting, isn't it? I think though, I think we'll stay with you. We had another question from one of our team about grapes. Love them, but can't eat them as quickly as they go off. What's your thoughts about grapes?
We love to freeze them, because we can be the same. You can demolish kind of the first half of the bunch, and then you think, I'm not going to eat the rest in time. Freeze them. They're really nice to eat or to pop in drinks. Really tasty.
So you can just use them as ice cubes straight out of the freezer, and they'll last forever in the freezer, and just use them as you're going in a drink.
Right. Gosh.
Especially a nice day like today.
Yeah, that's it.
Good. Okay, so there was a question that came in earlier, and it was for Josh. Thinking about your and the question came in is, Josh, what is your favourite food for growing? And I think you said marrows. Yeah. So, do you want to switch off your? Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So tell us what it is that you're liking about them. And what you do with them when they've got very big, because I think that sometimes marrows can get very big, and they can sometimes be so big, and they get a little bit tasteless as they get bigger. And I'm wondering what you do with them in your garden.
Well, first and foremost, I think why we really enjoy growing marrows is they're quite an easy one to grow. They don't need fantastic soil quality, and they're really satisfying for the kids because they start off as little courgettes, which you can pick off, and like you say, the smaller they are very tasty. But it's really satisfying for the kids to be able to see them grow and grow as well. When they do get to that size, what you can do is really go to just stuff it. So you can cut your marrow in half. I'm sure Alina and Sam got similar sort of recipes for marrows. Stuff it, cut it in half, scoop out some of the innards, and put, say, for example, some mincemeat, or fried with some onions, or you could put spices in there or whatever, and then put it back together and whack it in the oven for, say, 40 minutes on a fairly low heat, and it comes out like a sort of a beautifully chocolate eclair, savoury marrow thing. It's very tasty, very nutritious.
Yeah, good. Okay, so there's lots of things coming up in the chat room, so I hope everybody's looking there as well. I think we're going to go to our final question now, and this is a question that I'm going to put to both Nadia and to Josh, and it's come from one of our team, because although this is about food waste, we've heard here a lot about food distribution, and we've heard about how food gets passed out to communities, but also get people cook it together, and then people eat it together. And it seems to me that that's been something that you've both drawn out, how that's brought communities together during this time. So Nadia, do you want to just say a little bit about that? Because I think that's probably close to your heart, isn't it? Nadia,
Yes, it is very close to my heart. I absolutely love food. I love eating all the time, bad habit sometimes, but I love using it as a tool to get to know people, to engage with people personally, professionally, and through the work that I do. It's great with children as well. I just think food is just a great tool to use when you want to get to know people and build relationships. There should always be something in there. It doesn't have to be a meal. It can be a nice light refreshment, but there has to be some element of food used in community engagement.
Thank you, Nadia. Josh.
Yeah, I've got to agree with Nadia 100% there. Especially when we do things like, say, our community dinners that we do in the church hall, on the third Saturday of the month. It's free, but it gives it a focus. I think as human beings, there's something inbuilt in us to enjoy the act of eating with other people. It's quite a social activity, isn't it? Eating, and I think a lot of people, depression comes apparently a lot from having to eat on your own. There's almost like an evolutionary sort of instinct that we need to share food and eat it together. It's a wonderful thing, and like you say, Nadia, it has the power of bringing people together, as we've seen, and it's been lovely, really.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to close this panel section down now and hand back to Maggie. But on behalf of the SLH team, I'd like to thank you all, and I'd like to thank Maggie for chairing this especially. She's been a great chair. So back to you, Maggie.
Sorry, my finger couldn't get on the unmute, it kept dancing. That was amazing. We've packed so much in here, all the hints and tips and everything, and I think what comes across is all that community stuff as well. It's really lovely. But audience, you're not getting away again. You've got to do one more thing for us. Right at the beginning, we asked you to say things you're most likely to throw out. Who can then start? What's going to change? Let's get those buttons ticked. What are you going to make sure you're not going to pledge not to throw out? Shall I say? You can do more than one thing. So go for it. Let's have a collection of information that we hope that you're going to work on in your own fridges, homes. Just wait a few minutes for that to come in.
Okay, a few more seconds, then I'm going to close the poll. And I'm going to close the poll now. Thank you.
Roll. Let's see. Oh, brilliant. That I couldn't have asked for more. Use up everything. That's fantastic. And second in line was fruit. Try and get your fruit in. I didn't know you could pop grapes in the freezer. That's going to be my go-to thing for my gin and tonic. Forget the lemon. That's wonderful. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining in and being so interactive. Next slide, please. So we hope you take away from this positive responses. I can't see my screen. You can drive the transition by what you do as a consumer and a responsible citizen. We've lots of ideas there for you to follow up and make a difference, however small, and how to do some of this with others around you, sharing that. And I'm hoping you're all going to go to the website and see the YouTube of all this again and pick out what you need. So you need to listen to each other, chat to each other, and agree what you need to do, and then do it, have that action. So get one thing you need to pledge to. That's one thing I would say. Sam and Helena are going to create a recipe for using up old food from the fridge. They've promised us all sorts, so I'm sure they'll come up and put it on the website. So many thanks for being with us today, and thank you for the panels and Diana for leading the Q&A. And there is more to come. The electric car is going to be talked about next, and tomorrow there's a whole plethora, so book in now. So that's all for me. Thank you so much, everybody, and cheerio.